If you're doing everything you can to take care of your mental health and well being, like engaging in a meditation practice or keeping a gratitude journal and trying to think and feel good thoughts, or even addressing your physical health by taking care of your diet, and you're still not feeling good a lot of the time, then this video is for you because we're going to be talking about the one thing you may not have realized is impacting your emotions and your mental well being. And we'll talk about how to address it so that you can experience more peace and joy in your life. So often we think that we can consciously control our thoughts and emotions, but it's actually our body that is subconsciously running the show most of the time. And if we don't change the way that we carry ourselves, our posture, then our bodies will continue to dictate the habitual thoughts and emotions that we entertain against our better judgment, against our will. I'm Karina, and welcome to my channel where we discuss practical tools to elevate our wellness from a mind, body, soul perspective. The missing link to your mental health is your spine. And in this video, we'll be talking about how spinal alignment is influencing our emotions, our state of consciousness, and our mental well-being. You may have heard of this idea that our body language impacts how we feel and how we present ourselves to the world. For example, if our shoulders are hunched and rounded inward like this, we start to feel sad and defeated, and we look that way as well to the world. Conversely, if our shoulders are rolled back away from our ears and our head is held high, then we feel more powerful and in control. But it turns out that there is a little bit more to it than that. Finding alignment isn't just about posturing or, say, striking a power pose like Amy Cuddy, a social psychologist, talked about in her famous TED Talk. For those unfamiliar, this TED Talk came out a little while ago. And in the study, Amy Cuddy saw that participants who placed their hands on their hips saw a boost in testosterone and felt more confident. It's not that this effect isn't real or that this experiment was not a valuable contribution to the field of social psychology. I believe that it is, and I've seen this effect in myself and in the clients that I work with. But there is a difference between striking a pose, posturing, and finding true, genuine alignment. That might be why many researchers who tried to replicate this experiment didn't get the same results. It may be that placing your hands on your hips might make you feel nominally more powerful, but your spine is out of alignment. Getting at the idea that posturing is not the same as finding true confidence and emotional balance. Emotional balance comes from finding balance in our bodies. And when we optimally align our spine, we can find that emotional equanimity. So let's look at what posturing without alignment does to the body purely on a physical level to start. So let's take the example of the hunched shoulders. So when your shoulders are rounded, usually it's beyond your conscious awareness. And then if you then try to rectify it by throwing the shoulders back, that's not actually going to solve the underlying issue. All that's going to do is create other compensations in the body. The ribs might jut forward, the stomach might pooch out. This hyperextended spine is a really common postural misalignment that is a compensatory strategy to trying to correct for those rounded shoulders or that overly rounded upper back. And this can start to shear the spine. It can open us up over time to a variety of lower back issues like herniated discs or arthritic bone spurs. And so it's really not ideal to try to posture. It's ideal to find optimal alignment. And so the rounded shoulders are a response to a complex set of spinal mechanics that need to be addressed holistically. So what can you do right now at home to find spinal optimal alignment? So optimal alignment looks like this. So the hips are going to be stacked over the ankles. You don't want to be tucking the tailbone under. You also don't want to be jutting it back. You want to find that neutral tailbone, that neutral pelvis. And then you also want your ribs to stack over your hips. So you don't want to be flaring the ribs out like this. And you also don't want to be overly rounding the back. You want the ribs to stack over the hips. And then you want the shoulders to stack over the ribs. And you want the inner ear hole to be stacked over this bone at the top of the shoulder, which is called the acromioclavicular joint. So that's your optimal alignment. And this is something that may not happen overnight, right? It's a postural pattern that we might have to work to gradually. We might have to release tension in certain areas. Not everyone's path to optimal alignment is going to be the same, but this is something that you can work towards. And then it's also worth mentioning that muscular and spinal tension can be a nervous system-based emotional response to whatever is going on in our lives. So it's a bidirectional relationship. How we hold our bodies, how we hold our posture is influencing our emotions and our mental well-being, but it's also the other way around. So our emotions were the original first cause. They were part of the contributor to the tension that we find in our bodies that we have right now. So way back in the day, we experienced some emotional event, and now our body is holding the tension as a response to that. And I have a video on some myofascial release exercises that you can use to help move through and process the emotions that may come up as you are finding realignment and releasing tension in your body. So let's take an example from my own experience to show you how your emotions can be a reflection of your spinal alignment and vice versa. So several years ago, I was in graduate school. I was working towards a career in government. It was a very quote unquote by the book life. And for some people, that might be the dream. But for me, I felt constrained. It felt like this life didn't really authentically represent who I truly was. And my posture reflected that. My shoulders rounded in, my chest felt constrained. And I remember going to a hot yoga class where I was doing camel pose, which is where you arch the upper back quite a bit. And I remember that my body was feeling so resistant to that. It felt like it was screaming at me. Fast forward a few years later, I had left my government job. I was starting to coach and teach, doing the things that I loved. I was really deep into a vinyasa-based yoga practice, which is more of a heat-building yoga practice, doing all these intense back bends that before, when I was trying to do camel pose, that version of me was totally gone. But I was hyperextending my spine. I was thrusting my ribs forward, just like we talked about earlier. And so I felt expansive and free, but I also felt tired, overwhelmed, and anxious. I needed to find a balance between these two energies that I had been going back and forth between in my life. On the one hand, feeling less fully expressed, more constrained, but still in a comfort zone. And then on the other end, feeling free and authentic, but not really feeling supported. Now, there is a science-backed explanation for why these energies come into play in the way that they do and how they're tied to our spinal mechanics and our postural patterns. Our spine hosts our central nervous system. So it would make sense that our emotions and the movements of the spine are closely linked. And specifically, rounding in the spine associated with the exhale in the breath links to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system response. So when we experience any rounding in our spine, we can feel positive feelings like comfort and calm, but we can also experience the con of that, which is if we get too much into the parasympathetic nervous system response, we can experience listlessness, purposelessness, even depression. And then on the other side of this, an extended spine is associated with the inhale part of the breath pattern, which is linked to our sympathetic nervous system, our fight and flight response. And we need a balance of both of these in our lives to experience emotional balance. So if we have a lot of hyperextension in the spine, we may experience positive emotions like excitement and a zest for life and motivation, but we may also experience emotions like anxiety and overwhelm. And so we really want to cultivate a balance in our spine to experience a balance in these types of emotions. That's why when we're finding the optimal alignment pattern that I outlined earlier, we have a natural upward extended curve in our low back. We have a natural slight rounding, not too much rounding in our upper back. And then we have another extended curve in our cervical spine, basically the spine that supports our head, our neck. So when we find optimal alignment in this spine, we can feel powerful and free and authentic on the one hand, and also experience a sense of groundedness, feeling supported and feeling connected on the other end. And this can also help us a lot with creating the lives that we want. When we've experienced a sense of wholeness and fulfillment and emotional balance within ourselves, it's a lot easier to manifest the life that we want, free from attachment or anxiety. Attachment associated with the over-rounding of the spine, anxiety with the hyperextension of the spine. When we're finding a balance, we're free from those emotional states, those old emotional patterns, and we can start to manifest and co-create our lives with greater ease. Realigning the spine is a core part of what we work on. in the Superhuman Experience program. This is a program that takes into account your own unique postural patterns and helps to create a plan to release tension and find optimal alignment for you. It's unique, it's personalized, it helps you to fast track your progress. So if you're interested in learning more about this program and or in a value-packed masterclass for achieving optimal superhuman level health, the links to those are in the description box. You really can change your life by working with your body. If you found value in this video, feel free to give it a like and to subscribe if you want to learn about more ways to feel amazing in your mind and your body. Lots of love, and I'll talk to you soon.